Princess knew she was going to die. Her ship was falling apart around her, fire and smoke filling the small cockpit. Warning lights flashed red everywhere. The computer voice kept repeating words she did not want to hear. Hull breach, engine failure, impact in 30 seconds. She was the youngest daughter of Queen, ruler of the sovereignty. Her people had ruled 100 star systems for 40,000 years. They were beautiful and powerful, with skin that glowed like starlight and wings made of living crystal. Had never known fear in her 200 years of life. She knew it now. The slavers had found her near the border worlds. She had been traveling alone against her mother's wishes, wanting to see the outer reaches of their territory. The slavers had come out of nowhere, 3 ships, fast and deadly. They wanted her alive. A princess of the would sell for enough credits to buy a small moon. Had run. She was a good pilot and her ship was fast, but they had chased her into the scattering reach, a dangerous area of space where the old wormholes were unstable. She had no choice. She flew into one of those wormholes, hoping it would take her somewhere safe. It did not. The wormhole threw her ship across the galaxy, into a system she did not recognize. A yellow star, 8 planets, and she was falling toward the third one, a blue and green world that her damaged computer could barely identify. Earth, a primitive world, no galactic contact, no help coming. She hit the atmosphere and everything became fire. Woke up in pain, her body hurt everywhere. Silver blood, the blood of her people, covered her torn dress. One of her crystal wings was broken, hanging at a bad angle. She could not move it. She could not move much of anything. The ship had crashed in mountains. Tall trees surrounded the wreckage. The air was cold and thin, but she could breathe it. Small mercies. She tried to activate her distress beacon. It was dead. She tried her translator. It flickered, working only sometimes. She was alone on a primitive world, wounded, with slavers coming after her. Closed her eyes and prepared to die. She heard footsteps, heavy ones. Something was coming through the trees. Her eyes opened. She tried to summon her light, the defensive power of her people, but she was too weak. All she could do was watch as a figure appeared in the broken doorway of her ship. It was a human. She had seen pictures of them in old files. Soft creatures, no natural weapons, short lives. They had not yet discovered faster than light travel. The galaxy considered them primitive and unimportant. This human was male, tall for his species, with dark hair and a face that looked like it was carved from stone. He wore simple clothes in greens and browns. He carried a long weapon in his hands, something that used chemical explosions to throw small metal pieces. Primitive, dangerous at close range, but nothing compared to plasma rifles. He stared at her, she stared back. "What the hell?" he said. The words meant nothing to her. Her translator flickered, trying to learn his language. He came closer, moving carefully. His eyes checked the whole ship, looking for threats. Then he kneeled next to her, and his rough hands were surprisingly gentle as he checked her wounds. "You're hurt bad," he said, more words she barely understood. But she understood his tone. He was not going to hurt her, he was trying to help. She tried to speak. Her voice came out weak and broken. "Danger coming, they will find me." Her translator must have worked well enough because his eyes sharpened. "Who's coming?" Before she could answer, a sound filled the sky. A deep humming like angry insects. Both of them looked up through the broken hull of her ship. 3 hunters dropped from a small shuttle, landing in the clearing near the crash. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms each. Their faces were flat with too many eyes. They wore armor and carried plasma rifles that could cut through steel. They clicked and hissed at each other, understood them perfectly. Her translator knew their language well. "The princess is here, alive, we will be rich." "What is that creature with her? Some kind of native animal." "Kill it, it does not matter." The human stood up. He looked at the 3 aliens, then back at, something changed in his eyes. They went cold and empty like the eyes of a dead thing, but he was not dead. He was very, very alive. "Stay here," he said. "Don't move." Then he was gone, slipping out of the ship like smoke. Watched through a crack in the hull, she saw the human disappear into the trees, the spread out approaching the ship. They were confident. Why would they not be? They were three trained hunters with advanced weapons. The human was one primitive creature with a metal-throwing stick. The first died without seeing what killed him. One moment he was walking. The next moment he was on the ground with a hole in his head. The sound of the human's weapon came after, echoing through the mountains. The other two reacted fast. They fired their plasma rifles into the trees, burning everything. But the human was not there anymore. He had moved. The second stepped into a trap. A rope caught his leg and pulled him up into the air. He hung there, confused, for just a moment, long enough for the human to step out of the shadows and put two more holes in him. The third was the leader. He was smart and fast. He fired at the human and the plasma bolt hit the human in the shoulder. Saw him fall, saw him roll behind a rock. She thought it was over. It was not over. The human came out of nowhere from a direction that was not watching. He hit the alien from behind, knocking the rifle away. They fought on the ground, the using all four arms, the human using only two. But the human fought like something from a nightmare. He took hits that should have stopped him. He kept going when he should have fallen. In the end, his hands found the throat. He squeezed until the clicking stopped. The human stood over the body, breathing hard. Blood ran from his shoulder and from cuts on his face. He walked back to ship and kneeled next to her again. "More coming?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, many more, the ship in orbit. They will send everyone." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded, like this was a problem he could solve. "Can you walk?" "I do not think so." "Then I'll carry you." He reached down and lifted her as carefully as he could. She gasped at the pain, but she did not scream. "I'm Cole. We're going to get through this." Looked at this strange, primitive creature who had just killed three hunters like it was nothing. She did not know if she believed him, but she had no other choice. "I am," she whispered, "Princess of the Sovereignty." "Nice to meet you, Princess." He started walking into the forest, carrying her in his arms. "Let's go somewhere safe." Behind them, the third's communicator beeped. A message had been sent before he died. A warning. And somewhere in orbit, a ship full of hunters received it. The hunt was not over. It had just begun. Cole had lived alone in these mountains for 3 years. He came here after his last deployment, after the things he had seen and done became too heavy to carry around other people. He built a cabin with his own hands. He hunted his own food. He talked to no one. He had wanted peace. He had wanted silence. He had wanted to forget. Now he was carrying an alien princess through the wilderness, while hunters from another world tried to kill them both. Life, he thought, never goes the way you plan. Was light in his arms, lighter than a human woman her size would be. Her skin glowed faintly in the darkness, soft blues and purples that pulsed with her heartbeat. She was beautiful in a way that did not seem real, like something from a dream. But the blood leaking from her wounds was real. The pain in her eyes was real, and the danger following them was very, very real. They traveled at night. During the day, found hiding spots, caves, and thick brush and abandoned buildings. The ships flew overhead, scanning the ground, knew how to avoid detection. He had done it before in deserts and jungles far from here. Different enemies, same skills. On the third day, his translator started working properly. She could understand him clearly now, and he could understand her. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. They were hiding in a shallow cave, rain falling outside. Her broken wing was wrapped in bandages he had made from his shirt. "You do not know me. You owe me nothing." Was cleaning his rifle. He did not look up. "You needed help." That is not a reason. In the galaxy, no one helps without expecting something in return. I'm not from the galaxy." She was quiet for a moment. "The will not stop. They are slavers. They capture people and sell them. A princess of thee is worth more than most planets. They will send every hunter they have." "How many?" "The ship in orbit carries at least 40. Nodded slowly. 40 hunters with advanced weapons against one man with a rifle and limited ammunition. Bad odds. He had faced bad odds before. "Then we keep moving." On the 5th day they ran into a patrol. 4, moving through the forest in a search pattern, saw them first. He put down behind a fallen tree and told her to stay quiet. She watched what happened next. She would never forget it. Did not fight like the warriors she knew. Soldiers were graceful and precise, trained in ancient forms of combat. Hunters were brutal and efficient, using numbers and firepower to overwhelm their prey. Was something else. He fought like an animal. No, that was wrong. Animals fought to survive. Fought like he had already accepted death and simply refused to let it happen yet. He killed the first one with a knife, coming up from the ground like a ghost. The second one turned and fired but was already moving, using the first body as a shield. He shot the second one twice in the chest. The third one ran at him with a blade and let the blade cut his arm so he could get close enough to break the alien's neck. The fourth one tried to call for help, but threw his knife across the clearing and hit him in the throat. 12 seconds, and stood in the middle of them, bleeding from a new wound, breathing hard but steady. He walked back to and picked her up again. "We need to move. Others will have heard the shots." She stared at him. "You are wounded." "I know. Does it not hurt?" "Yes." He started walking. "Pain means I'm still alive. Keep moving until you can't. That's all there is." On the 7th day was strong enough to walk on her own, though slowly. Her wing was still broken, but the other wounds were healing. Found them shelter in an old mining camp, abandoned years ago. There was a small building with a solid roof and walls thick enough to stop plasma fire. He set up traps around the perimeter, tripwires, falling rocks, pits covered with branches, primitive things but effective. "Your people," said, watching him work, "do they all fight like you?" Shook his head. "Most never fight at all, most live peaceful lives." "Then how did you learn?" He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was flat. "War, lots of war, too much war." "You were a soldier." "I was for 20 years. And now you live alone in the mountains." "Now I live alone." He finished the last trap and sat down against the wall. Seemed easier than being around people. Moved closer to him. Her glow illuminated his face, showing the scars and the lines and the tired eyes. "In the sovereignty," she said, "we have a word for warriors like you. Warriors who have seen too much battle and carry invisible wounds. We call them the burnt ones. Their flame has been used up." Laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Burnt one, yeah, that sounds about right. We honor them. They gave everything for their people." "Your people sound nicer than mine." On the 10th day, the found them. Woke to the sound of his traps being triggered, screams and explosions in the darkness. He grabbed his rifle and told to stay in the back room. They came in waves. 5, then 10, then more. Had built this place into a fortress. They could only come at him from 2 directions, and he had both covered. He shot them as they came. When his rifle ran out of bullets, he used his pistol. When that ran out, he used a metal pipe he had found in the mining equipment. They could not understand what was happening. They were 30 hunters with plasma rifles, and one primitive was holding them off. They had never seen anything like this. They had conquered 100 worlds. They had taken millions of slaves. And this one human on this one primitive planet would not fall. By morning, 12 were dead. The rest had pulled back to regroup. Sat in the doorway of the building, covered in blood both silver and red, his body broken in a dozen places. Came out and sat next to him. She took his hand, the hand that had killed so many to protect her. Yeah, they will come again, more of them this time. I know. You cannot win. He looked at her with those tired, empty eyes. Probably not. Then why do you keep fighting? He was quiet for a long moment. The sun was rising over the mountains, painting the sky orange and gold. It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing he had seen in a long time. Because you're still alive, he said. Because there's still a chance. Because stopping means dying and I'm not done yet. Felt something break inside her chest. Not pain, something else, something warm. My mother's fleet will be looking for me, she said. If they trace my ship's path, they will find this system. They will find us. How long? I do not know, days, maybe hours, maybe never. Nodded, he started reloading the weapons he had taken from dead, plasma rifles, advanced technology. He figured out how they worked in 30 seconds. Then we hold until they get here. He stood up, wincing at the pain. Watched him prepare for another battle, another impossible fight. Yeah. Thank you for everything. He looked at her and almost smiled. It changed his whole face, made him look younger, softer, like the man he had been before war had burnt him down. Don't thank me yet, princess. We're not out of this. In the distance, they heard the sound of ships approaching. The final battle was coming. But so was something else, something they did not expect. They had found their princess. Queen had not slept in 11 days. She stood at the window of her flagship looking out at the stars, waiting for news. Her daughter was missing, her youngest child, her heart. They lived for thousands of years. They were patient. They thought in centuries, not days, but was also a mother, and a mother's fear knows no patience. My queen, the voice came from behind her, Admiral, her most trusted commander. We have traced the princess's ship. The wormhole took her to an uncharted system, primitive, no galactic contact. And there is a slave cruiser in orbit around the third planet. Light blazed so bright that everyone on the bridge had to look away. The slavers, the lowest creatures in the galaxy, and they had found her daughter first. Set course immediately, maximum speed. I want every ship we have. The battle fleet turned and jumped into hyperspace. 30 warships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a moon. They crossed the galaxy in hours, tearing through space like silver lightning. When they arrived in the Sol system, they found the cruiser exactly where the Admiral had said. It was launching shuttles toward the planet below, hunting parties. Destroy it, commanded. The fleet opened fire. The cruiser lasted exactly 4 seconds. It became a ball of fire and debris, scattering across the darkness of space. Scan the planet, find my daughter. The sensors swept across Earth. They found human cities, primitive but numerous. They found oceans and mountains and forests, and they found something else. A life sign, weak but alive. She's there, said. In the mountains, but there are signals around her, many of them. Send the rescue team, now. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. Inside were 20 of the Queen's personal guards, the finest warriors in the sovereignty. They had fought in 100 battles across 1,000 years. They feared nothing. They followed the princess's signal to an old human structure in the mountains. There were bodies everywhere. Bodies. Dozens of them scattered around the building like fallen leaves. Some had been shot. Some had been beaten. Some had walked into traps that had crushed them or cut them apart. The guards looked at each other. What had happened here? They heard sounds from inside the building. Plasma fire and something else. The primitive weapons of this world throwing metal pieces. They moved forward, ready for anything. What they found stopped them cold. A human stood in the doorway. Male, covered in blood, both red and silver. He had wounds that should have killed him twice over. In one hand he held a plasma rifle. In the other hand he held a metal bar, bent and twisted from use as a weapon. Behind him, Princess sat against the wall, glowing faintly. The human looked at the guards. He did not know who they were. He did not know if they were friends or enemies. All he knew was that more aliens had arrived, and he was the only thing standing between them and the princess. He raised his weapons. "No," his voice cut through the tension. "They are my people. They came to rescue me." The human did not lower his weapons. His eyes moved across the guards, counting them, judging them. The guards felt something strange. They were among the best warriors in the galaxy, and this primitive creature was making them nervous. Pushed herself up and limped toward him. She put her hand on his arm, gently pushing the weapons down. "It is over. We are safe." Slowly, very slowly, lowered the plasma rifle. He let the metal bar fall to the ground. Then his legs gave out and he collapsed. Caught him before he hit the floor. She was weak herself, but she held him up. She would not let him fall, not after everything he had done. "Help him," she ordered the guards. "He is to be treated like an, better than an, do you understand?" The guards rushed forward. They carried to the shuttle where the medical equipment was, followed, refusing to leave his side. In the shuttle, the medical officer examined with growing disbelief. "Princess, this creature should be dead. He has lost too much blood. He has broken bones, plasma burns, cuts that go to the bone. His body is failing. How is he still breathing?" Looked at, lying still on the medical bed. His face was pale but peaceful. For the first time since she had met him, he looked like he was resting. "Because he is human," she said, "and humans do not know when to stop." The medical officer shook his head. "I can stabilize him, but he needs proper treatment. We should return to the fleet." "Then do it, save him. That is an order." The shuttle rose from Earth's surface and flew toward the waiting fleet. In the flagship, Queen watched it approach. Her daughter was alive. Her heart could beat again. But there was something else in the shuttle, something she had not expected. A human. When the shuttle docked, was waiting. She watched the guards carry out a stretcher with a small, pale creature on it. She watched her daughter walk beside that stretcher, holding the creature's hand. The princess looked up. For a moment she was a child again, running to her mother's arms. But she did not run. She stood where she was, next to the human. "Mother, I am glad to see you." "And I you, my daughter," moved closer, studying the human. "This creature, the guards say he killed many." "He killed them all, mother, everyone that came for me. For 11 days he carried me through the wilderness. He protected me, he fed me, he bled for me, he almost died for me, many times." Was quiet. She had ruled the sovereignty for 20,000 years. She had seen many things in that time, but she had never seen anything like this. "Why?" she asked. Thought about the question. She thought about all the conversations she had with during those 11 days, all the things she had learned about this strange, sad, wonderful creature. "Because I needed help," she said, "and he could help. That is what he told me. That is all the reason he needed." The queen looked at her daughter. Then she looked at the human, lying unconscious on the stretcher. "Bring him to the medical bay. Give him the best care we have. I wish to speak with him when he wakes." "Yes, mother." Turned to leave, then stopped. She looked back at her daughter. "This human, is he important to you?" Thought about his tired eyes and his gentle hands and his absolute refusal to give up. About the way he had looked at her when he thought she was sleeping, like she was something precious he had to protect. "Yes, mother, he is important to me, very important." The queen nodded slowly. Something shifted in her ancient eyes, understanding perhaps, or acceptance. "Then he is important to me as well. Rest now, my daughter. You are safe." But as followed the stretcher to the medical bay, she knew that things had changed. She had left home as a princess who had never known hardship. She was returning as something else. Someone who had seen what courage truly looked like. Someone who had found something rare and precious on a primitive world that the galaxy had ignored. She had found a human who would die for her without asking why. and she knew in her heart that she would never be the same again. Woke up in a room made of light. That was the only way he could describe it. The walls glowed softly, the ceiling shimmered like water, and the bed beneath him felt like sleeping on a cloud. He had never felt so rested in his entire life. He sat up and looked at his body. The wounds were gone, not healed, not gone. His skin was smooth and clean. He moved his arm, the one that had been cut to the bone. It worked perfectly. "Ah, you are awake." He turned and saw her standing near the door. She was tall and beautiful, but older. Her glow was stronger, more silver than blue. She wore simple white clothes and carried a device that looked like a tablet made of glass. "I am Healer. I have been caring for you since you arrived. How do you feel?" Thought about the question. "Better than I've felt in years, decades maybe." Nodded. "Our medical technology is quite advanced. Your body was badly damaged, but nothing we could not repair. You have been sleeping for 6 days." 6 days. On Earth, his wounds would have taken months to heal. Some of them never would have healed at all. "Where's?" "The princess has been asking about you constantly. She has barely left this floor since we brought you here. She is resting now, but I can send word that you are awake." "Don't wake her. She needs rest more than I do." Looked at him strangely. "You are a curious creature, human. Most beings in your situation would demand attention, special treatment. You ask nothing." "I don't need anything." "That is exactly what makes you curious." She put down her tablet. "The queen wishes to meet you, when you are ready, of course." Stood up. His body moved smoothly, without the aches and pains he had carried for years. He felt like a young man again. "I'm ready now." "You do not wish to rest more. Prepare yourself." "No point. Either she likes me or she doesn't. Waiting won't change that." Smiled. It was a small smile, but genuine. "I think I understand why the princess speaks so highly of you. Come, I will take you to the throne room." The ship was enormous. Walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever, past windows that showed the stars outside. He saw everywhere, tall and beautiful and glowing. They all stopped and stared at him. He ignored them. The throne room was the largest space he had ever seen. It made every building on Earth look small. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into light. The walls were covered with symbols and images that told stories he could not understand. And at the far end, on a throne that looked like it was made from a frozen star, sat the queen. Queen was 12 feet tall. Her skin glowed like the sun, and her eyes were ancient beyond imagining. Had seen power before. He had stood in the presence of generals and presidents and men who could destroy nations with a word. This was different. This was power that had existed for 40,000 years. This was power that had ruled 100 star systems and watched civilizations rise and fall like waves on a shore. He should have been afraid. He was not. He walked across the throne room, his boots echoing on the crystal floor. Everyone watched him. Guards, advisors, nobles. They had never seen a human before. They had certainly never seen one walk toward their queen like he belonged there. Stopped at the base of the throne. He did not bow. He was not trying to be disrespectful. He simply did not know how to bow, so he stood straight and looked up at the queen and waited. Studied him for a long moment. Then she stood and walked down the steps of her throne. She did not stop until she was standing directly in front of him, towering over his small human form. "You are the creature who saved my daughter." "Yes." "For 11 of your days you protected her. You killed for her. You nearly died for her." "Yes." "Why?" Had known this question was coming. Had asked it. The healer had asked it in different ways. Everyone wanted to know why a primitive creature would risk everything for a stranger. "She needed help," he said. "I could help, so I did." That is not a reason. That is barely an explanation. "It's the only explanation I have." Leaned closer. Her light washed over him and he felt her presence pressing against his mind. She was reading him, he realized, looking inside him, searching for lies, for hidden motives, for the truth behind his simple words. He let her look. He had nothing to hide. After a long moment, the queen stepped back. Her expression had changed. There was something in her ancient eyes that had not been there before. "I have lived for 40,000 years," she said. "I have met countless beings from countless worlds. I have seen heroes and cowards, saints and monsters. I have learned to see through every mask, every lie, every pretense." She paused. The throne room was completely silent. "In all that time I have never met anyone like you, Cole. You do not fight for glory. You do not fight for reward. You do not fight for power or fame or vengeance. You simply see someone in need and you help them, without asking why, without asking what you will gain. You help them because you can." Did not know what to say, so he said nothing. "My people have a word for such beings," the queen continued. "We call them, it means pure flame. A fire that burns not to destroy, but to light the way for others." She turned to address the entire throne room. "This human, coal of earth, protected the princess of the sovereignty. He stood alone against an army of slavers. He bled for my daughter when no one else was there to help her. He asked nothing in return." Her voice rang through the massive chamber. "For 40,000 years, they have never named an outsider as kin-bound. Never once have we offered our highest honor to a being not born of our blood." She looked back at, "Until now." The throne room exploded with noise. Voices raised in shock and protest. This was impossible. This was unprecedented. A primitive human elevated to the status of royalty. Raised her hand, and silence fell instantly. "Cole, I name you kin-bound. You are family to the, you are protected by our laws, you are welcome at our hearth. From this day forward, an attack on you is an attack on us. Your enemies are our enemies, your cause is our cause." She descended the final step and stood directly in front of him. Then, slowly, the queen of the sovereignty bowed her head to a human soldier from a primitive world. "Thank you," she said softly, "for saving my daughter." Felt something in his chest, something he had not felt in a very long time. It took him a moment to recognize it. "Hope." "You're welcome," he said, "Your Majesty." From somewhere in the crowd he heard a sound, crying. He looked and saw standing among the nobles, tears running down her glowing face. But she was smiling, smiling brighter than all the stars in the sky. Smiled back. For the first time in longer than he could remember, he did not feel burned. He did not feel empty. He felt like maybe, just maybe, there was still something left inside him. Something worth keeping alive. The news spread across the galaxy like fire in dry grass. A human had been named kin-bound by the sovereignty. A single member of an unknown species had killed 30 hunters and saved a princess. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy turned its eyes toward the Sol system, toward a small blue planet that no one had cared about before. The Dominion was furious. Their hunters had been killed. Their ship had been destroyed. Their reputation, built over 10,000 years of conquest and slavery, had been damaged by one primitive creature on one primitive world. The High Lord of the sent a message to the Galactic Concord, the governing body that loosely managed relations between star systems. "We demand justice," the message said. "The humans must be punished. Their world must be sterilized. They have no protection under galactic law. They have not yet achieved faster than light travel. They are primitives. They are prey." The message was sent to every corner of the galaxy. It was a declaration of intent. They were going to destroy Earth, and they were telling everyone to stay out of the way. They expected no response. The humans had no allies. No one in the galaxy had even heard of them before. They received a response. Queen stood in the center of the Galactic Concord broadcast chamber, surrounded by holographic images of representatives from 1,000 worlds. Her light blazed like a star, and her voice carried the weight of 40,000 years. The Dominion claims Earth as prey. They claim the humans are primitives without protection. They claim the right to destroy a world because it is weak. She paused, letting the silence build. I am here to tell you that they are wrong. The chamber erupted in murmurs. They were the oldest and most powerful civilization in the galaxy. When they spoke, everyone listened. I have met a human, continued. One single human. He stood against an army with nothing but primitive weapons and his own will. He did not have advanced technology. He did not have shields or plasma rifles or combat armor. He had only his courage and his refusal to stop fighting. She raised her hand, and an image appeared in the center of the chamber. Cole, standing in the doorway of the mining building, covered in blood, surrounded by bodies. This is what one human can do. One, now imagine a world full of them. The representatives stared at the image. They saw the wounds on the human's body. They saw the weapons in his hands. They saw the look in his eyes, the look of a creature that would never, ever give up. The believe humans are prey said. They are wrong. The humans are not prey, they are not weak. They are something else entirely, something the galaxy has never seen before. She turned to face the representative directly. Earth is under the protection of the sovereignty. Any action against that world or its people will be considered an act of war against us. The representative hissed with anger. You would protect primitives. You would go to war for creatures you have never even met. I have met one of them, replied. That is enough. This is madness. They are nothing. They have nothing to offer the galaxy. They have something the galaxy has forgotten, the Queen said softly. They have heart. They have spirit. They have the ability to look at an impossible situation and refuse to accept defeat. She turned back to the full assembly. They have conquered 100 worlds by preying on the weak. They have built their empire on the backs of slaves and the bodies of those who could not fight back. Well, I tell you now, the humans can fight back. They will fight back, and I believe they will be stronger than any of us expect. The declaration was made. The sovereignty had taken Earth under its protection. They could not attack without starting a war they could not win. But the effects went far beyond simple protection. Word spread through the galaxy. The humans were different. They were not like other primitive species. They had something special, something dangerous, something valuable. Ships began arriving in the Sol system. Scientists wanting to study humans, traders wanting to establish contact, diplomats wanting to open relations. The humans had gone from unknown primitives to the most interesting species in the galaxy overnight. And it all happened because of one man. Cole stood on the balcony of his quarters looking out at the stars. 3 months had passed since the rescue. He had been offered everything. Wealth beyond imagination, land on 100 worlds, a position of power in the government. He had refused it all. You could have anything you want, said, joining him on the balcony. Her wings were healed now, spreading behind her like crystal flowers. My mother would give you entire planets. I don't want planets. What do you want? Thought about the question. He thought about his cabin in the mountains, the silence and the solitude. He thought about the years he had spent trying to forget who he was and what he had done. He thought about, and the way she looked at him, and the way she made him feel like maybe he was not broken after all. I want peace, he said. I spent my whole life fighting. I want to know what it feels like to not fight for a while. Moved closer to him. Her light was warm on his skin. You could have peace here, she said. With us, with me. He looked at her. Your people might have something to say about that, a princess and a primitive. You are not a primitive, you are kin-bound. You are family, and even if you were not, she took his hand. I would not care. You saved my life. You taught me what courage really looks like. I do not want to lose you. Was quiet for a long time. Then slowly he smiled. It was a real smile, the kind that reached his eyes. Okay, he said. Okay, what? Okay, I'll stay for a while, see what peace feels like. Smiled too, it was the thing in the sky. In the years that followed, humans began spreading across the galaxy. They were curious and brave and absolutely relentless. They made friends with some species and enemies with others. They explored and traded and built and fought when they had to. They were never prey again. Historians would write about the day everything changed. The day a princess crashed on a primitive world and was saved by a soldier who did not know how to quit. The day humanity was introduced to the galaxy not as victims, but as warriors. But did not care about history. He did not care about fame or legacy or what the historians would say. He cared about the princess standing next to him, her hand in his, her light warming his soul. He cared about the peace he had finally found. And he cared about the truth that had spoken to her mother, the truth that had changed everything. Mother, this human rescued me. 5 simple words, but they had opened the galaxy to humanity. They had given a burnt soldier a reason to hope again. They had started a story that would echo across the stars forever. And somewhere in a quiet corner of an palace, that story continued, not with wars and battles and grand declarations, but with 2 people from worlds that could not have been more different, learning what it meant to find home in each other. That thought was worth more than all the stars in the sky. That was worth everything.